Okay. I'd like to gavel in our special meeting scheduled for September the 30th, 2013. If you'd all please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Sure. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Alderman Harper. Alderman Nguyen.
Here.
Alderman Robertson.
Here.
Alderman Kramer.
Present.
Alderman Tui.
Here.
Alderman Leahy.
Here.
Alderwoman Bannister. Alderwoman Saunders.
Here.
Thank you. Are these microphones loud or is it just me?
They're loud.
They're loud.
They're on.
Okay.
We haven't had any complaints since we did it, but not being able to hear.
Okay, thank you. The only item on the agenda tonight, and I appreciate everybody coming, was, as you know, we have to set the tax rate and have it into the county by tomorrow. It always seems to be kind of an issue getting the assessed values completed from the county. Sometimes they can change, a couple days ahead of time or before the due date. So I appreciate everybody coming out for the special meeting tonight to set the tax rate. At this time, I would like to open a scheduled public hearing. If anybody in the audience would like to address the city with respect to the city's proposed tax rates for this. Actually, why don't we read those first? Frank, if you maybe want to just read, the introduction and the rates. The introduction to the bill. Does that have them in there? No, it doesn't. Okay.
Oh, do we want to read the,
Well, it doesn't have the rates in there. Here, I'll do it real quick. The proposed rates for 2013 are for the general fund. Residential rate, general fund is set at 0. Commercial rate, 0.2. Library fund, residential rate, let me go back. Personal property tax rate is 0.2070. The library fund residential rate is 0.2130. Commercial rate is 0.22. Personal property rate is 0.2290. Pension fund rate residential is set at 0.3880. Commercial rate is set at 0.4110, and personal property rate at 0.3850. Debt service for the city is set at 0. For a total expected revenue, again going by St. Louis County's assessed valuations for 2013, would be for the general fund $263,433, library $572,818, pension fund $1,042,850, and I'm sorry,
42,000.
Thank you. And then debt service, again, is 0. So at this time, I'll open up to the public. If anybody'd like to address the board with respect to our proposed rates, now would be the time to come forward. Okay.
So do any of these rates, Karen Smith on Harrison, do any of these rates increase from the previous year?
They are set at, I believe they're set at the maximum rates last year, and they are again this year. Bola?
They do increase from last year, and what happens is when your assessed valuation decreases, then you are allowed to capture the increase from the consumer price index, and what other reassessments from new construction are within your boundaries, which would be the city of Brentwood. So we are seeing some rate increases, and then the rollback in the general fund that the mayor mentioned earlier.
Right, okay. So, and if the, if our assessed values go up, then do these get back down?
Yes.
Okay, all right, great, thank you.
But I would like to point out, except for our commercial rates, the city isn't assessing any any residential taxes against a resident. Again, except for the personal property tax, but no general fund or debt service. So it's set at 0. Okay, no other comments? I'm sorry?
Sorry, so the personal property tax, is that increased from last year?
That's staying the same.
Oh, okay. All right, because I'm one of those individuals that have kind of been caught in the middle of it, when they talk about the middle class, where your salaries aren't keeping pace with the expenses, and so, you know, each year having to look in my own personal expenses to kind of make my cutbacks, and I guess I'm looking, you know, to make sure that the city does the same, and I know that it's a challenge right now because you're being asked to get some new programs and services to improve our city, like, you know, the comprehensive plan, compensation survey, and all these things cost money, and they're needed because I think staff and the board need to have this information to be able to do their jobs and to make better and more informed decisions. But just looking for ways that we can maybe change the way we do business in other areas. Thank you.
Okay, I will close the public hearing. We have one bill before us. If I could have a motion for the first reading of bill number 5792.
So moved.
And second. This is for first and second reading only. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. First reading of bill number 5792, please.
First reading Bill Number 5792 by title only, an ordinance to confirm, ratify, and approve the rate of tax to be assessed and collected for each $100 of assessed valuation for the year 2013 for A, general municipal purposes, B, to provide the annual contribution to the City of Brentwood's Police and Firemen's Retirement Fund, C, to pay principal and interest as the same matures on indebtedness of the City of Brentwood evidenced by bonds, D, to pay for the maintenance of the public library, providing for the effective date of this ordinance and providing for the repeal of all conflicting ordinances.
Okay. Any questions? Alderman Saunders?
The rates are just a little bit different from when we approved at Ways and Means, but I
That's
guess
correct.
that's because the assessed valuation,
Right.
the
Came in.
post.
Right.
So it looks as though, I guess, just the library, instead of .2120 is .2130.
Correct.
And then there was one other one that's. a little-
Commercial under general revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Right, yeah. And that's because when it was presented to us, we had the 269 million number instead of the 263 million.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Kramer?
Yes, Your Honor. Just a couple notes for those who either are in attendance who may be watching this at some point in the future. It bears repeating, Mayor, and I know you probably would be doing this many times over, that but for the City of Brentwood's fantastic array of retail, these tax rates would be much higher. Our residents are very, very fortunate that we have had the planning in the past. Some of our residents agreed with, some did not. Our rates are definitely subsidized by the retail dollars that come into our city. We're very, very fortunate. I wanted to mention that, and a couple interesting aspects of the numbers that are presented before us this evening. One I'll call your attention to is the assessed valuation for personal property year over year from 2012 to 2013. You might notice that that is one of the numbers that actually went up substantially versus the residential and commercial valuations of real estate. And you might ask yourselves, as opposed to previous years where that number was stagnant, why might that number be going up, you might say? An analyst would possibly take a look at this number and say that personal property numbers will go up when the economy is perhaps a little bit more bullish. Purchases are happening, more cars are being purchased, newer cars, newer personal property items. So you have a higher number there, 37 million versus the 2012 31 million. And then you have the BOE, which once again that has been referred to this evening, which is the Board of Equalization. That's the opportunity for the taxpayers to go before the board. I did myself this year and presented my case, as others did, to try and roll those numbers back in terms of valuations. It was rolled back from 37 million to 32 million, still above the 2012 number. And once again, I think that's an interesting little aspect of our economy that folks may not be aware of. And finally, I wanted to make mention that this, since 2008, this is our second lowest number for residential. 2011, we had 61 cents. Last year, we had 56.5 cents, and of course, this year, just a shade over 60 cents. We're very, very fortunate. I don't think under this bill it's fair to talk about the school district, but that is a separate item that impacts your tax bill, and that you will see when you get your mortgages a little bit later on this year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. One other, to tie into that just a little bit too, another interesting thing I think people should understand is that when, obviously, people don't want to have to pay taxes, and the last few years with the downturn in the economy and real estate rates, we've had a lot of residents who have protested to try to reduce their real estate values. And whether that's good or bad for that individual resident, what that does, though, is if it is reduced, it kind of actually increases the property taxes that the rest of us are paying because of the ability to offset those reductions in order to have the same revenue for the next year. So sometimes, when you have those reductions, it actually can work in reverse for the neighbors is what it boils down to. So, are there any Alderwoman Saunders?
In my email to my residents, I always clarify that our tax rate is separate from the school tax rate. Would it be okay, Mayor, if the superintendent's here, if he addressed the school tax rate, or would you rather just keep that separate?
I mean, it is what it is. Do you have a specific question?
No,
don't
I just,
remember.
I mean, it's just always, there's a
They published it and-
separately.
right,
And I
right.
guess I wanted to, let the public know too, though, that they did not go to the ceiling rate. They rolled back their rate 12 cents this year, so they did not charge as much as they could, so that's good.
Okay. All right.
Second reading.
Second reading, please.
Second reading, Bill number 5792 by title only, an ordinance to confirm, ratify, and approve the rate of tax to be assessed and collected for each $100 of assessed valuation for the year 2013 for A, general municipal purposes, B, to provide the annual contribution to the City of Brentwood's Police and Firemen's Retirement Fund, C, to pay principal and interest as the same matures on indebtedness of the City of Brentwood evidenced by bonds, D, to pay for the maintenance of the public library, providing for the effective date of this ordinance, and providing for the repeal of all conflicting ordinances.
Okay. Any other questions? Have a motion, please?
So moved.
And a second?
Second, Your Honor.
Motion was made by Alderman Nguyen, second by Alderman Leahy to adopt Bill number 5792 into ordinance form. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen.
Yes.
Alderman Robertson.
Yes.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes.
Alderman Tui.
Yes.
Alderman Leahy.
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders.
Yes.
Bill number 5792 is now ordinance number 4459.
That's it.
Great. Appreciate everybody coming again so we could take care of this and get it in tomorrow. Have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned.
Never thought it'd be that short.